In this episode of Paul Meets, I get to speak to the amazing Ricky Morgan, one of the most successful PTs in the Planet Paul community. Ricky started his business just over 12 months ago and is already a fully booked practitioner doing more than $300,000.
There's something more that's calling me, but I'm very goal driven.
He's got his team that he's starting to build, and he's got aspirations to get to 1.5 million and be completely free from the business in the next 2 or 3 years. In this episode, I dive deep into the mind of Ricky, find out what his most inspiring stories are from his past, the influence of his parents, and one of my favorite parts of the interview is the role that his wife plays in helping him to do things that he doesn't always feel like he wants to. I think the phrase was,
just stop being a little bitch and just go do it.
Every single one of us has a past, we have a story, and I like to dive into what that story is for the best business owners in the Planet Paul community. And in this episode with Ricky, you're gonna absolutely love it. Whether you are at the start of your journey or whether you are stuck somewhere trying to get to freedom, trying to get to that successful business, you will absolutely love this episode. Enjoy the show, turn us up nice and loud, and don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and on the podcast where you can listen live or you can watch, whichever works for you. Find us on YouTube, find us on the podcast, but turn us up nice and loud and enjoy the Paul Gough Show and another episode of Paul Meets Ricky Morgan. All right, welcome back to another episode of Paul Meets, the show that goes deep inside the mind of the most successful physical therapy clinic owners to find out what makes them tick. And today I have an exceptional guest for you all the way to Orlando from North Dakota. It is the amazing Ricky Morgan. Please give him a nice warm welcome into the studio. Woo! It's a live studio audience these days. But hey,
Paul.
Nice to meet you. Come on in.
Thanks for having me.
Come on in. Welcome to the show. We spent the day together, and you and I are going to have a wonderful conversation all about your business, what drives you. You are a fascinating, incredibly successful clinic owner, just over a year in business at this point, already achieved some phenomenal results in his business, and we're going to dive into not just the results, the lessons that Ricky's learned over the last 12 to 18 months, what gets him out of bed, what causes him to want to grow his business, what's the driving force behind him and the successes that he's had. Let's start with your story. Tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ricky Morgan, like he said, from North Dakota, and married with 4 kids, 4 boys actually, so bless my wife. And been a PT for over 10 years. My journey is maybe a little bit unique. Spent most of my time before I started my practice in private practices, and then I went on to teach at the university, but always had this burning desire to run my own practice. Didn't necessarily know where to start or how to start, which is when I found you, right? Needed some help along the way, so that's a quick synopsis of where I'm from and my journey. What
made you want to quit then? So we with a nice job, a nice income, what made you want to quit and start your own business in the first place?
Yeah, so I think I wanted, just like everybody else, I wanted autonomy. I wanted more time with my family. I wanted the choice to live the life that I wanted to live, right? And when I worked at the university or in other clinics, I was carrying out other people's vision, but it didn't really align with what I wanted for myself, both professionally, but also personally.
Yeah.
I just had a bigger dream as to how I wanted to impact people's lives, including mine and my family's life.
Was there anything in your family, any business influence, was your dad in business, uncle, or anybody that you look up to as a kid, a teenager?
Yeah, so I think 2 people come to mind is my dad and then my father-in-law, actually. So my dad ran the grain elevator in my hometown and put a lot of long hours in and just really demonstrated hard work, good work ethic. And then my father-in-law grew up farming and then runs a seed business as well. So some business influence there that has really impacted like my journey and my goal. And one of my favorite sayings is actually my father-in-law told me this one, but you can't make all the mistakes yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew, like, hey, I need somebody that's been there and done that, and that's what drew me to you guys.
What was it like then growing up in a house with that, you know, with your dad as a business owner and your uncle? What was like the early Ricky? What were you thinking? Was that in your eye line as a teenager, maybe, that you wanted to be like your dad to run your own business? Was there an inspiration there?
Yeah, for sure there's inspiration. And I saw that if you put the time in and you worked hard, that you could have the life that you wanted.
Yeah.
And the freedom to do the things that you love. So grew up going to the lake and hunting and doing a lot of fun things with my family. And I wanted that for my kids and myself. So that freedom was huge.
Nice. What about in your business then? What was the point that you thought, right, I can actually do this? What was the day? Was there a moment? Did you watch something, hear something, see a story? Like, what was the day you woke up and thought, I can actually do this? I can leave the 9 to 5 and I can go do my own thing.
I think a lot was changing at the university. So I had a great job, right? Great job, great benefits. I had some freedom, but not as much as I wanted. But they were changing some different things within the university.
Yeah.
And at the time I was running my practice, like kind of a side gig,
Yeah.
dabbling, I think you would say, right? And I just realized, like, as I was working through a syllabus, I was kind of like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is not what I'm built to do here. And that was a moment where it just like clicked, and I'm just like, I need to do something more. Like there's something more that's calling me, but I'm very goal driven. So went through, got the job as a professor, went and got my PhD, and I was kind of like, now what? Which is maybe the entrepreneurial spirit of like, set a goal, reach it, but what's next type of thing. And that's what really drove me.
So believe it or not, we are kindred spirits. So when I was in professional soccer, as I come towards the end of that and I wanted to leave and I wanted to do my own thing, I actually went and did a qualification in teaching in Britain. And I used to study at a place called Bishop Auckland College in the northeast of England. And I was adamant that I was going to go into teaching. I'm going to tell you a true story. I've never actually revealed this one, so this is a good one for you guys as well. I was at Darlington Football Club in, I want to say 2006. And I applied for a job at Bishop Auckland College. I was treating on the side, I had a side hustle of my patients, and I was treating the principal of the college at the time, and she told me that there was a job available in the sports therapy department, and that if I applied for it, there would be a very good chance that I would get this job, right? I'm fully qualified PT, I'm working in professional soccer, so I had all of the credentials and qualifications that they wanted for me to go and, you know, be the flagship PT for their college program. So I applied for the job in the September, and about 10 days had gone by and I hadn't heard anything. And I remember calling the college, and the girl on the phone, she said, we've already given the job to somebody. And I thought, that's a bit strange. And she said, yeah, you applied for the job and we mailed out an invite for an interview. And I said, did you? She said, oh yeah, we mailed it out. We mailed it out 10 days ago. I said, well, I haven't got it. Like, I didn't get it. And she said, well, I'm really sorry. There's nothing I can do. The interview is taking place. We thought you just didn't show up, and we've actually handed the job out to somebody else. And the next day, the mail arrived, and the postman had delivered it to the wrong place. Somebody had opened it because they sellotaped it and, you know, kind of stuck it back together, and it came to my house the very next day with an interview for this teacher's job about 4 days before I'd made the phone call. And at the time, I remember thinking, oh, I've missed the job. And I was like heartbroken. I was thinking, this is my future, and I'm going to be, I had my heart set on being a teacher and a side hustle as a PT. And I thought that will be me for the next 3 to 5 years when I leave football. And anyway, it turns out that the stars weren't aligned, and I wasn't meant to be a teacher. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. And I look back now, and I remember at the time vividly being like, oh shit, I was devastated. I could picture the time off and, you know, what I was going to do and how it was going to work. And I had my life planned around being a teacher, and it wasn't meant to be. Looking back, I often think, like, some of the things we've discussed today, there's pivotal moments in your life where you made it happen, when, you know, certain things, when I went and met Dan Kennedy, and, you know, now certain things we were talking about, but there was also certain things where just the stars had aligned. And I remember at the time my granddad had just died, and I remember thinking, like, you know, I'm not overly sort of thinking that was because of that, but I do remember at the time thinking, was that my granddad basically saying, like, this is not meant to be, kid, like, I can see your path and there's a bigger future for you. But I look back on that and I think, now, how could I ever have even contemplated being a teacher? like the system, the rules, the like the rigidness of it all, I'd never have been in a million years.
Right.
I probably would have lasted 2 weeks and I'd have been fired. Do you know what I mean? It just wouldn't have. What do you now? Talk to me about the difference. Even just remind people who are in an entrepreneurial life. So this is a good one for you. They're an entrepreneur now, running a PT clinic. Just remind us all of what life was like in a system like the school. What would be the differences now that you have and that you feel running your own business that just didn't exist inside of a big, ugly corporate system?
I mean, that could be a whole podcast.
So let's do it. I think this could be the podcast.
Right. So, I mean, I think
because some of us, on a serious note, some of us need to be reminded of that, right? There's people listening to this podcast now who take for granted what they've got. They left behind hell on earth. And they, you know, in terms of the rigidity, the toxicity, the horrible culture, the entitlement that often happens inside of big corporate organizations, the waiting your turn, the ladder, the sort of, you know, annual, what's happening next year with me kind of life, versus now, yeah, we've got new problems, people problems or whatever, but I think it's important for people to remember that that's the life that we walked away. So come on, I'm open to this being about this podcast.
Yeah, so I think the rigidity, we should start there. So there's so many layers of like a supervisor for a supervisor for a supervisor for a supervisor, right? And a lot of people are maybe stuck in middle management where they get pressure from the top, pressure from the bottom, and nothing really seems to get accomplished, right? Yeah. So I just remember sitting in meetings and talking about, I remember one meeting vividly where I was like, whoa, this is weird to me, right? So we were talking about fundraising. I think I don't even know how I should say the name, but an organization, a professional organization was fundraising for money, and they were asking students to like help support the fundraising.
Okay.
Which blew my mind. Like these students are going into debt with college and all this other stuff, and yet here we are asking them to donate money to this big, powerful organization. With like, what is going on here? You know? But I think that you just kind of always stuck in Groundhog's Day over and over and over again. Like, hey, this is just what we're doing. There's no like, doesn't seem to be like any real big challenge, and you're just kind of stuck to like, this is how we do things. New ideas really weren't accepted. I remember they just passed a new policy, which really like, I was like, okay, it's time. They passed a new policy where if we were in the clinic, they would be taking a percentage of what we made in the clinic. So you would think they would want us out in the clinic, hands-on experience to bring back to the students, right? But they actually wanted to take a percentage of what we brought.
So even though it was your own independent clinic?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that was like a 3-year process before it was implemented. But then once they started to implement, I had a choice. Mm-hmm. I could either be doing clinic for 3 hours max per week, weekends included, or they get a percentage, right? So basically they made you choose between practicing or running a business and teaching, your choice. And I think they maybe trapped a lot of people, but I was like, well, then I'm not going to teach anymore.
Yeah.
And so that was just an interesting battle, you know? But it makes me very appreciative of where I'm at today and the freedom and the decisions that I get to make.
I think it reveals about you as well. It's what it says, that you were backed into a corner, given an ultimatum, and you believed in yourself, you trusted in yourself, and you realized that somebody telling you what you had to do or how you could do it just wasn't gonna work. My exit from Darlington Football Club, eventually when I think I stayed for another season after that teaching job that I didn't get, and the new manager came in and he knew I was doing private pay on the side, and he didn't come and ask for money, or the club didn't come and ask for money, but they knew that I was distracted, and they knew that they couldn't get hold of me as easily, and they knew that I'd sort of kind of, you know, I had other interests, and you can often tell that now. I can tell it with my own staff when they've gone, you know, they've gone too far, which is fine. But the conversation with me was, it's us or them. And I think they offered me a pay rise, and I remember them offering me a pay rise of about 5,000 quid, so about $7,000 or $8,000 to stay with them and not do any private patients. And in a heartbeat, I just said, I'm out. Like, when do you want me to hand my notice in? And he said, well, now. And I said, okay, like we're done. There just wasn't any conversation that I was going to give up that entrepreneurial life where my income was you know, whatever I wanted to be, where this thing was be capped. And I think that was the kicker. I think I finished at 2 o'clock for the current salary, and he was offering me £5,000 more, but I needed to stay till 4:30, and that's what was going to eat into my my hours to treat patients, if you like. So one way or the other, it was going to cost me. And I always remember at the time, you lean into your courage and your belief in who you are, and you just think, no, like, you know, nobody's going to tell me what to do. And you think about how many people in life are probably in some kind of situation like that, where they're getting an ultimatum, but they'll relent, and they'll stay with the status quo, and they'll stay with safety, and they'll stay with the path that was fine 5 years ago, but not necessarily the path that they want to be on today. And that's what I admire about what you've done, is you look at the path and think, that was the path I wanted at first. I was happy as a teacher, but now I've realized my ambition's a lot bigger, and I want to be somebody else. So tell us about your business. We have obviously spent the day together. We've been working on your business and setting out plans for 2026. So we started the business around about 15 months ago, would we say? Something like that. You come to PPM, first ever event, 2024.
Correct.
So PPM is your first ever event in the Planet Paul world. Fast forward 12 months, and we're at the next junction. We've gone almost to that point now where it's not going to be about you anymore. It's about building a team. And you're into that next junction where we're looking at from $300,000, how do we get to $1 million over the next couple of years? What's driving you on now then still? You know, you've done well in business. You're at that, I think you've got there, and I said this to you. You've got to that next junction. I always say there's three points, not to $300,000, $200,000 to $1 million, and then $1 million to freedom, right? After $1 million, you really start to be able to step back completely from patient care. You've got to that first marker, that first base camp, if you like. I think, well, you've done it in a year. Normally that takes people about 3 or 4 years, right? Because they dabble. You seem to have gone all in.
Yeah, I definitely went all in, right? So I guess that's just my personality. Anything I do, I'm going to dump all of my energy and soul into it to make sure it's successful. But the question, I think, is why? Mm-hmm. And you already said it. It's the freedom and the choices to do what you want when you want, especially with my wife and kids. That's what's most important to me, is to create memories with them and enjoy every single day with them, mm-hmm. because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And that really has definitely spearheaded my motivation, for sure.
What about your own drive to be successful? Is there anything there? Because I think there's two. There's the motivation, right? I always try and get into the understanding of, we've got this kind of external drive, and it's for the family, and it's for the kids, and it's for the lifestyle. But I'm always interested in, what about you? Like the personal, like, what does Ricky want, like, for himself to feel about his business and his business ownership and his business skills? Is there anything driving you on there?
I think driving is just, again, for me personally, is like, my family matters, and I get, we're getting to that point. But I think just the drive to always learn something new and to continue to grow personally and professionally, and continue to build basically a legacy, right? Again, it relates back to the family, but being able to support my kids and their kids for generations as long as I possibly can, but to enjoy every second. I think what really hits me, two things really hit me that continue to motivate, and probably where my business is today, are from these two people. So my dad has a progressive neurological disorder, and he was given 4 to 6 years to live, and he's kind of at that end point, right? And we talked about how hard he worked all the way up to, retirement was his goal, right? But the year before he retired, he was diagnosed and then basically forced to retire due to health problems, right? So that's probably what really motivated me to continue to help others stay as healthy as possible for as long as they possibly can, mm-hmm. well into their 80s and 90s, feeling like they're 60, which we've talked a lot about. Another individual that really impacted my life and the decisions I make today is his name is Matt Fullman, and he good friends. So our wives went to medical school together, and he ended up passing at 33 years old from a stroke, and that he has 2 young kids, and that really that hit me super hard. Is holy, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So I don't know if it's a matter of all of this money and all this stuff is I don't see that as my success. I see the time. Mm-hmm. to do the things that we enjoy with the people we love is what motivates me the most. Yeah,
it's interesting. I think as society looks at entrepreneurs, they are certain that we're all motivated by money, and that it's always about the dollar, and it's always about the revenue and the profit line and things like that. And then you get under the hood of business owners and you find out there's actually some really deep powerful. Tony Robbins calls them OIs, the original incident. There's a original incident in all of our lives that drives us, that motivates us, that causes us to want to live a certain way or be a certain way in spite of things that might go wrong, or in spite of things that worry us or doubt us or cause us to question. We always go back to that, like that OI in that moment where you think, oh shit, what if that happened to me? Or I don't want to live like that, or I don't want to be like that. And if it's powerful enough and it resonates with you enough, it'll drive you on for the rest of your life. And I think that's the important thing for all business owners, is to try and find what was the OI. Like when you're stuck in the heat of the battle in the middle of February on a Tuesday afternoon and it's not going your way, and the year hasn't started the way that you wanted it to, and staff have quit, or new employees haven't arrived, or clients don't like your new price, you got to go back to that original, like, what was this all about? And I think it's easy for the kids, right? I always think we you know, sometimes, if I'm allowed to say it, as business owners, we hide behind the it's for the kids. I think once you find your deeper kind of rooted driver, it's much easier in business. What about other people that you admire then in business? What drives you on? What's your biggest influence? What do you think, as you watch other people in business, who's inspired you, motivated you? Who do you look at and you think, God, I'd love to be like him or her?
I think he's sitting right here.
Oh wow.
You.
Oh,
Yeah. So
except me.
Except you?
Yeah.
I have to pick someone else.
Yeah. We can come back to me.
I gotta think on that one. I mean, a lot of people have influenced my life for sure. I mean, two people that pop into my head right away. Obviously, you're one, so three. My grandfather is definitely one. Taught me a lot of different quotes about, like, you know, if you're nervous for something, he always says, like, hey, these guys put their pants on the same way you do, one leg at a time. And it's just like certain gems like that have really helped kind of progress me and build my confidence. I think I look at like these athletes that they maybe haven't personally, like I've never met them personally, but they've influenced like their excellence and their drive and their mindset, right? Or working on their mind strengths. We talk a lot about, but I think of like high elite level athletes. You start looking at like Tom Brady, Michael Jordan. I've really paid attention to those guys and like, what are they doing to be excellent? So I think that.
And what do you think? What is the difference?
I think being consistent is one, but I also think doing certain things that nobody else will do, right? And Kobe Bryant's in there too, right? They're getting up at 4 a.m. They're putting the time in. They're working when everybody else is sleeping, and they're just passionate. And there's some driver there, like we just discussed. What's their internal driver that makes them tick? And just like studying those guys is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think there's lots to learn. I think we always have to be careful of studying the wrong model, right? That's where I very early looked at people who were uber successful, and then often what I found was behind the scenes they didn't actually have very good personal or family lives. And I thought, oh, you can have all the medals, MJ can have all the medals, and that's great if that's what you absolutely wanted. But let's just make sure that there's good relationship there with kids, with wives, with parents, you know, with some good solid friends. Because I think that's where sometimes as business owners we can copy a sports star, but if there isn't that, how did he get both the success on the field and off the field? Personally, I think we've failed in business, and I think that's the quest that we are on. What about the business owners more closer to home? You've been in our community now for 12, 15 months. What have you learned about what separates the ones who are really smashing it and the ones who are trying? Just generally in the PT space, if you like. You know, you see people online, you see people on the internet, or you've been to other conferences. Business owners are struggling. What have you learned about what separates a really good PT business owner from somebody who's struggling?
I think again, a couple of things come to mind, but the biggest thing is like being really, really strong and consistent in your message. And what I mean by that is making sure you know who it is that you want to help and specifically speak to them. But being consistent, right? Doing the things that not everybody wants to do every single day.
Yeah.
You know? So I think showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, right? We've probably all had those days. And if not, I definitely have had those days, right? But still doing it anyways. And just the grind, and maybe you do feel tired, but it's like, it's going to get done anyways.
Give me examples of things that you just find difficult to do, but you've got to do them anyway?
Like posting videos on social media. You know, I'm not used to it, right? And trying to be way more consistent and putting the content out there for people to understand, one, what we do, how we can help them and get them back to the life they love. So posting, I would even think about, right now I'm doing a lot of different things, KPIs, and we talked about this today, right? I'm doing basically everything, right? And so how do we transfer some of that onto the people that I've hired to, that are working with me to offload my plate so I can do more of those other things that'll help move the needle.
It's the only way a business will ever grow is when you take tasks off one person, give them to somebody else, to allow room for new work to come into the business. So if you watch a business that gets stuck, typically a business will be stuck for 12 to 18, 24 months. And what will happen is the business owner is still doing the same tasks, the front desk girl is still doing the same tasks. And really, the front desk girl should have said, I shouldn't be doing these 2 or 3 things now. And the business owner should be saying, well, I shouldn't be doing these 2 or 3 things, and I should be passing them to the front desk girl. But she's going to say, well, I can't do them because I'm already doing too many things. So the business owner needs to be able to pass things like recruitment and finance or QuickBooks to potentially somebody in administrative job. It's fine for you to do it in year 1, but in year 2 and 3, that's going to get you stuck. But the front desk girl saying, well, I'm busy doing callbacks, and I'm doing emails, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing the other. Well, she can't take your work because she's busy. So then the business owner has to go, well, great, if I stop doing this and I give this to her, and I take these 3 things off her and I give them to somebody else, as long as the work that I do at the top is worth more than the work that the front desk girl was doing, it's worth more than the work that the girl or the guy that needs to be hired to do it is doing, well, then the business can grow. And it's a very simple mindset, and it's a good thing for you to understand very, very early. Scariest thing that you've ever done in business, and how did you push through it?
I think the scariest thing for me was hiring, and maybe still to this day is like, I realize I'm probably gonna get it wrong, right? Hopefully getting it right, but I think the scariest thing is bringing on somebody to hire. But like we just described, you need to do that in order to grow. But you should do it. Don't be reckless with it, but make sure you have it planned out. And like we talked a lot about was, what are our targets for 2026? And if we're hitting those targets, who's that going to allow us to bring on, right into plan and map it out, make it work on paper. But I think hiring is definitely the most, is the scariest, because all of a sudden you're bringing somebody in, right? They have a family. And sometimes if you've never done it before, you're not sure what it's going to look like or how it's going to turn out, right? So I think that was probably the scariest thing that I've done so far. But as we talked about, making the decision, then making it right, it's worked so far. So I'm going to keep following that philosophy. But it doesn't mean it's not scary. That's for sure.
Just explain that to somebody who's never heard that before. So it's a phrase I use a lot. Make the decision and make it right. How would you explain that to somebody who's hearing that for the first time?
I think what you mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you mean is if you just continue to procrastinate that decision and procrastinate, then I would still be stuck doing all of these things and never be able to grow the business and get the freedom that I want, right? So even if you're not quite sure, if you don't feel like it's the right time, but the numbers are maybe telling you like, hey, we're moving in that direction, make the decision, and then you're just gonna have to figure it out from there. Meaning like, what do you have to do differently, or how can we make this right?
There's 2 aspects to every play. Let's look at basketball. So basketball, if I'm Steph Curry, who's in Orlando tonight, if I'm Steph Curry, 2 things have got to happen. Number 1, I've got to make the right decision. So the right decision to pass the ball to the guy on the outside. The second is I've got to execute on it. The right decision was to pass it. So we can analyze the player, and if the right decision was to pass it, I made the right decision. Now, if it didn't land in his hands or he dropped it, well, we can make that right next time, as in I can pass it, I can learn to pass it better. So the decision to pass was the right one. The fact that I may not have passed it perfectly to the player I wanted it to go to is different from the original decision. And what a lot of people do is they hide behind the original decision, which is right, because they fear about the execution being wrong. The best people make the right decision and then they make it right. So I might have to hire on Monday morning and I don't want to. But the right decision is to hire. Now, if the Monday morning hire I make doesn't arrive because I got it wrong, it doesn't mean that it was the bad decision. It was a right decision, I just didn't do recruitment right. In every step, the right decision is to raise prices. The first Monday morning I raise prices, the customer complains. I have to figure out how to make that right. So I have to learn how to deal with that objection. I have to learn how to explain it better. I have to learn how to value prop better. So I made the decision, which was right, but then I got it wrong in terms of its execution, but I can make it right once I've made the decision. So I can't make it right until I make the decision. That makes sense? And what a lot of people do is they hide from the right decision because they project on themselves that they're going to get it wrong, and they live out this fantasy world of things that might go wrong, and they never actually give themselves an opportunity to make it right because they won't make the decision. And the most successful people make the decision and then back themselves to make it right along the way. How do you get through those scary decisions then? What gets you through the hiring? Because people listen to this thinking, well, I've got to hire, or I've got to bring in team, or I've got to fire, but I just don't feel like doing it. How do you get through that?
I think a lot about like, what is it going to cost me in the long run? Like you hang on to, for example, if you need to hire somebody, think about what they can bring to your team to help you continue to grow the business to get the freedom that you want, or what's your internal driver. So that one like is becoming a little bit easier with like, okay, this makes sense to do this, even though it might feel a little bit scary, it makes sense to do this. And then I think of like, I haven't fired anyone yet, right? And I'm sure there's a time and a place where I'm going to have to do that. And that's the piece that I think a lot of people are most nervous about. The hiring might be a little bit easier than the firing. But I think you look at it as to what are they doing to your culture? What are they doing to your business to stop you from growing again to reach your ultimate goal? And what's your phrase? Get them off the bus if they're not on the same journey as you. So it's one of those things where I think just having coaching from you guys and a community where a lot of people have already been through a lot of this stuff, you can pick their brain as well and think about what is the best decision for you, but then you got to make the decision.
I would say there's a cost of action, there's a cost of inaction. There's a price of action, there's a price of inaction. There's a price to enroll, there's a price not to enroll. There's a price to join the program, there's a price not to join the program. And often when you're looking at a decision to hire or even fire somebody, or any decision in your business, I always ask myself that, what's the cost of inaction here? If I don't make this decision, I'm probably going to be stuck at the level I'm at. Now, I may be okay at this point in my life, but if I've been in that phase for a while, I'm probably now genuinely procrastinating and a little bit of fear about getting to the next level. So I've always got to check, would I be happy? If I don't make this decision, I don't move on. So then I'm going to ask myself, if I don't move on, would I be happy with where I'm at? My immediate instinctive reaction is no, nearly always, because I'm hardwired for growth and I want momentum and I want to get to different levels in life. So if I don't make this decision today, I'm stuck. And if I'm stuck, what am I? Like literally, what am I? I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs grow, they move, they make progress. That's what we do, and that's why we do it. And if I don't make this decision, I'm stuck, and therefore I'm not actually who I am, and I'm not living true to my identity. And I always default to that there are decisions you don't want to make, and you hate making them, and they're horrible. But it means that I'm not living true to who I am and what my purpose is. What do you tell yourself when things get uncertain? Then what do you default to? Anything that your dad or granddad might have told you, or any words of wisdom that you use?
You know, I think about, there's obviously the mental battle that goes on with some of these tough decisions, but I think I try to weigh the pros and cons and ultimately try to remember, like, what is my ultimate goal? And one of the reasons why I went into business is I didn't want to look back on my life and be like, what would have life looked like if I would have ran my own business, right? So I always try to keep that on the back of my mind when I'm trying to make a tough decision. It's like, what is my goal? What is my ultimate goal? And am I still on the right path for that? But then also getting the support, obviously, from the community to say, does this make sense? Mm-hmm. Or am I just like way out of my element? Especially if I'm in new territory that I've never been before. Yeah. Having that support from a community is like super, super powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I don't have like a specific phrase other than, I guess the phrase does come to mind, which is going to crack people up, I think. But my wife and I, we were talking about, like, you know, you have the mental battles of, I don't want to go work out. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And she kind of caught me off guard. She sent me a message. It was about working out, and she's having a mental battle. And she's like, I need to just stop being a little bitch and just go do it. And sometimes that phrase, to be honest, comes into my head of like, just don't be a little bitch and go do it. I don't know if that's great.
I love it. But hey, if it works for you, if it works for you, yeah.
So that's the first thing that pops into my head.
Okay, I think that's the title of this video. Don't be a little bitch. That's the thumbnail. That's the shot. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, no, we won't. No, we won't. Yeah. What do you think of the current state of the PT profession?
That is a great question. I think it's evolving.
You can swear as well. You can use expletives. I won't cut them out. Come on.
I think it's evolving, right? And it depends on how you want to look at it, in a good or bad way, right? And if you want to be stuck in the insurance game the rest of your life, like it's not, I don't think it's going to be a good life, if I'm being straight up honest. It's already changing significantly, and you're seeing it all over the country, right? Not even in the US, but just all over the place. And I think that if you want to run a business and you want to continue to be in the P2 world, you're definitely going to have to shift your mindset. And so I'm 100% cash pay for that reason. I was tired of letting insurance dictate what we can and can't do and how we should live our lives. And that's one of the main reasons why I chose to be 100% cash pay, so that we can provide care to our patients at a high level and help them receive an outcome without insurance telling us what we can and can't do. So the profession itself is like changing significantly, and you're gonna have people on both sides like, oh yeah, you shouldn't, and well, we talk about this, right? You shouldn't market, you shouldn't have to do this, you shouldn't have to do that. And I think that if you don't pivot, and if you don't start moving in that direction more towards cash-based services or overall wellness for your clients, like,
yeah,
we're not gonna be around very long.
We went to the very well-known business conference.
It's by the same organization.
I won't mention its name, just for libel, slander and consequences. And I can honestly say it was like God's waiting room, right? It was like God's waiting room for PT clinic owners. It was clinic owners who literally are there just hoping to die before their clinic dies, right? Like you can just smell it and sense it. It is, it's so just outdated, and in fact, the only entertaining thing was the quality of the booths on show. They seem to have really upped the game for the booths this year for all of the EMR companies and everything. There was a wonderful array of big booths and little booths and lit up booths and all sorts of stuff. And I walked out thinking that seemed to be the goal this year, was to have the best booths in the expo hall. But everything else about it was stale. It was old fashioned. It was just speaking to the business owners there. There was just no energy. There was no fun, no like any new strategies. Is anybody talking about anything that's like actually going to make people money, that's actually going to help? And out they think that they're doing a good job and they think that they're helping, and they are to a degree. But I always wonder, at what point are they actually just prolonging the agony, you know?
Are they helping?
I'm going to say that for legal, right?
Maybe
you can say what you want, right? You can say what you want, right? I mean, to be fair, I can, and I'm not really bothered. I'm just trying to be respectful. But it just sums up everything that is kind of wrong, that like these business owners are walking off a cliff. Like there's reimbursements dropping week after week, month after month, year after year. Staff are asking for pay raises every month. There's people exiting the profession left, right and centre. It's obviously broke, and yet they just keep pushing and celebrating the model. It isn't working. They're basically creating an alter to a model that doesn't work, right? How long before the profession breaks, right? And it's no wonder other other professions are coming up around us and underneath us and undercutting and doing things better. They're more nimble, they're more open, there's no stereotyping. Like we come through college and you go into school and you're kind of taught. I remember going to that same conference in 2017 in, I want to say it was in Anaheim or somewhere like that, years and years ago. And I remember walking into a seminar to be taught how to shake a doctor's hand. And it was marketing about referrals. It was referral marketing from doctors, right? So the whole session was about how to market to doctors. And I'm not lying when I tell you that the guy at the front asked for a volunteer, and I thought, where's this going? And some guy got up, and it was, this is how you shake a doctor's hand, this is how you look him in the eye, and this is how you start the conversation with the doctor. And I just remember thinking, is this a joke? Like there's a punchline coming in a minute, right? This is going to be a comedy sketch. And it turns out, nope, that the whole session was on basically the etiquette of communication with a doctor, how to get respect from a doctor, right? And I just remember thinking, geez, like really? How to get respect from a doctor? There's my fucking book, there's my website, there's the clinic I'm building, this is what I'm gonna be part of, this is what you could be part of, this is the caseload I'm gonna have, this is the marketing that I'm running that you don't know how to do, and when I've got a full caseload, you're gonna get sorted. Would you like to talk about how we can have a relationship with each other, but we are, I think, in just even watching what I saw last week, the profession is allowing us to become third world citizens in healthcare. And I don't say that lightly. It's the PTs will deal with it and suffer it, and the PTs will accept it. The PTs will just accept the reimbursements. The chiros and OTs and everybody else seems to be left alone, but it seems that the PTs are the first to have to deal with the cuts and the reimbursements and the changing of the laws. And the fact that even direct access was still a contentious issue even up until 5 years ago, and still is in some states or Texas. The idea that PTs, after a college degree and a however many hundreds of $1,000s investment, were not allowed to write their own assessments, and were not allowed our patients coming through the doors without a doctor being involved in it. I mean, literally, what world are we living in?
Sometimes I wonder, yeah. It's, I'm married to a physician. We talk about this all the time. And I mean, each position has different training, of course, but we talk about how we have much more training in musculoskeletal pain, low back pain, all that stuff. And we just think of all the money that could probably be saved, actually, by getting them to a movement specialist.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
I remember even as a student, taking referrals, so this is back in the National Health in Britain, taking referrals from a doctor as a student physio in a hospital in England. And if I saw the referral come in off a doctor, a GP, a general practitioner, 9 out of 10 times I knew whatever he or she had put as the problem was not the problem. That if it was supraspinatus, it was actually a nerve problem, or if it was a nerve problem, it was a rhombo. It was like a muscle problem, or whatever it was. 9 out of 10 times that doctor was not able to accurately diagnose what the problem was. Yet every citizen in England would have to go see him or her before coming to me. And you wonder how much that money is costing for people. And it's the same here. Some reason the profession is it's allowed itself to be perceived as a second-class citizen, third-class citizen. Where do you think it's headed then? How long does this last? What'll happen?
I think people will keep accepting it, or like these bigger organizations, bigger healthcare systems will just start to absorb some of these PT practices, which may be what they want. I'm not sure. But I think some of these that don't transition and just conform, they're going to be absorbed by bigger organizations, is what I think. There's going to be some sort of reform or something, but you can't keep the lights on at the rates that it's going right now.
What's the best thing about owning your business?
I would say the best thing about owning my own business, this is a quote actually from my father-in-law. Every morning you can look at yourself in the mirror, and if you're successful, you can say thank you. If you're not successful, that's on you, right? Everything falls on you. So it's being able to make the decisions and move your business in the direction you want to, versus having to go through 6 different people to see if it's okay or can I even do this type of thing. So the autonomy, for sure.
Yeah. What's the hardest lesson you've learned in business so far?
The hardest lesson, I think what I've learned early on was I need help. I can't do it on my own. If I were to do this on my own, I would not be here. Where I'm at today, not a chance. I might be bald. I might have ripped my hair out by now. So I think it's maybe not a hard lesson that I learned, but it's something that I knew I needed help. And if I wouldn't have gotten that help, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
What would you say then is one decision that has changed everything for you in your last, all decisions in the last 5 years? What's the one that's changed everything for you?
I guess joining your community honestly has made the biggest impact, and going from $5,000 to $10,000 to $40,000 months. Like, that's a huge ROI. So that's by far the best decision.
What did you find when you got into the community? Tell somebody who's listening to this, watching this, who's on the periphery, who just dabbles with coaching or just thinks that listening to a podcast or reading a few books is going to help them, right? And it gets us all started. But what's the difference when you get inside of a real community like the Planet Paul one?
I would say the support, constant support, and I would say the accountability, right? Because I have people holding me accountable, which is what I want, because it's going to make sure I implement. If you don't implement, you're not going to get anywhere. So I'd say just the support and the accountability is like number one. Like, you get into a different level where you're not sure what to do, you can lean on peers and support from you guys on how do I do this? Where do I go next?
What's next for you?
There's a lot. There's a lot coming in 2026. It's going to be a great year. Looking to hire a PT. Looking to hire a chief delight officer. Those are probably my next 2 hires in 2026. But yeah, my business, the goal is to get to 700,000 this next year, which I think is realistic. Made a solid strategic plan and just got to implement.
Talk to me about that chief delight officer. Explain that.
Customer service. So we had a long talk about customer service, and the chief delight officer is somebody I'm looking to hire to basically lighten up the room, like we discussed, brighten the day for people that come into our doors and just offer that exceptional customer service. So whether it be to get a coffee, tea, remembering who they are, who their family is, asking them what they've been up to, just making them feel at home, versus going into another business where, we talk about, hey, take a seat, they'll be there, they'll run behind 10 minutes and there's no conversation. Like, that is not a business that I want to be in charge of.
I look back in the conversation we had about how the world was different when I started my company in mid-2000s, 5, 6, 7. It was easier to find people that wanted to provide levels of service with good values and that wanted to smile and say please and say thank you. The 25-year-old girl that I was hiring back then, very, very different to the guys and girls coming out of college today, because it's not, even my kids, I watch my kids, it's very, very difficult to get them to say please and thank you, because the number of people around them who actually do it, it's almost non-existent. When was the last time you were thanked for your service in any restaurant or genuinely somebody meant it and to say thank you? Great to see you again. Thank you for coming back to keep me in a job. Like, I'm at Disney every weekend, and even that place ain't what it used to be, because the people that they're hiring they just don't have that. And my point is, for everybody, we talk about AI, we talk about marketing, leadership, all of these things, right? And everyone thinks that's the way to grow the business, and it is. But I think the often overlooked thing is actually just to create a place where people are welcome. Even I told you the story about the mailman. We used to go out of our way to make sure that the mailman was looked after, because I knew he'd be telling everybody on the night that we were the only place that looked after him. We offered him a cup of coffee. It was freezing in England. Middle of February, middle of January, we could see him. He was freezing cold, delivering the mail. We come on, do you want a cup of tea? Sit down. How are you? What's going on? He used to love us. And 10, 15 years later, when I still see him, when I go back home, he'll still remember the days where we made a fuss of him. So he was my referral source. He was telling people, because everywhere else he went, nobody spoke to him. Nobody was interested in him. It was really simple ways just to look after people, whether it was just the way I was raised or brought up or whatever. But I always thought that was the bedrock of the business. Then you layer on some good marketing, you're going to have a terrific life. You're going to have a terrific business. Last question, or last thing. We often joke about North Dakota.
It is a state.
So I've heard, right, that this place called North Dakota, I've been assured that it's got electricity, it's got Uber, they have phones there these days, and it is nothing like what you see on the Flintstones, right, which is kind of how I imagine North Dakota to be, right? Sell it to me. Why should I visit North Dakota?
Why should you?
Come on.
Oh,
We got 60 seconds to sell North Dakota to me. Why should I run an event one day in North Dakota? I'll take my family.
you should run an event in North Dakota in the summer.
Okay.
Right? I would say June or July.
Okay.
Yep. Beautiful summers. Definitely, like, it's not as busy, right? So, I mean, you get that small town feel, depending on where you're at, of course. But where I'm from is, we live just south of a city that's about 60,000. So my hometown's 1,100 people, right?
Yeah.
It's a small community, but.
So are you king of that town?
Am I king?
Yeah, you must be king of that town at this point.
King.
Okay.
No. But no, I think the commute is, like, if you want to get anywhere, you basically like 20, 30 minutes away from everything.
Okay.
So I would say come in July.
Okay.
Beautiful weather. You might see some horses.
All right.
Maybe.
Yeah. I have no doubt.
It
Will
depends.
I get picked up by one when I land, or?
We can maybe get that
Okay.
situated for you. Would you like to?
Yeah, I'd love to. Just
You and your kids.
if that's the North Dakota feel, then I'm in. Yeah, I'm in.
Sure, I could line something up.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm in.
But no, it's beautiful in the summertime. The winter, I don't know if I'd recommend.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like 40 degrees right
Yeah.
now. And,
I'll see you there.
oh,
Yeah.
But if you want to be inside and not go very much, then yeah.
Was that 40 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius?
Fahrenheit.
Celsius. I'll come if it's Celsius, but not
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a great place. I mean, it's where I call home, but it's not real, like, It's not real busy.
Yeah.
Super agricultural. Yeah, a lot of farms, a lot of.
You had me at farms.
It's not Disney World.
Is there a mouse there? Is Mickey and Donald there?
We could make one.
Okay, well, my kids will come. Now, I will come to North Dakota. It's on record. I will bring my kids. I'm taking them to Oklahoma next year. I like to travel. I like to take the kids to different places. Spring break next year, I'm taking them to Oklahoma. So maybe it's the year after. Maybe we'll swing up to North Dakota.
Yeah, hit some Medora. Right, Medora's a good spot.
Okay.
Fargo, not like the movie.
All right.
That's an hour away.
Okay.
So
all right.
we go.
Amazing. You've been fantastic. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Ricky Morgan on the show. Wonderful episode, incredible insights into how to get from $0 to $300,000 in 12 months. Ricky Morgan, physical therapy. Head over to the next video where you can watch another episode of Paul Meets. Get inspired if you are a physical therapist. This is the channel for you. If you're looking to grow your business, that's what we're all about, helping you escape 9 to 5 so that you can live a terrific life. Last thing, 5 kids is better than 4.
4 is a great number. 4 is a great number.
Buzz a good number, but 5. I'm going to tell Natalie we have to finish on an even. That's
There you go.
that's the deal.
Yeah.
All right, tune in next time for another episode. Hey, this is Paul Gough. Thanks for watching. If you like my content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking for even more, be sure to head over to Amazon and you can find my 7 best-selling books for physical therapists in private practice. Head over to Amazon and find me now.